right, everybody, I have 11 o'clock on the dot, so let's get this party started. I honestly don't have a lot for today. Liz was unable to make it today, so she can't help me fill the time, so it's just me talking to you today. All right. Let's talk about the user conference, which some of us just got back from. I feel like it was a really good success. I hope that those of you that were at home or were taking it from work or at home could hear us. I'm always a little worried about that, whether the audio came through very well or not. Liz and I did talk about authorities, and how they work in Missouri Evergreen and what Marchive does for us. I am going to recap that a little bit at the end of this meeting, but the slides are linked on the agenda that I sent out in the email this morning. And they, of course, will be linked on the Missouri Evergreen website. They'll be on the YouTube channel. So that's what's going to happen there. So if after I recap at the end of this meeting, if anyone has any questions about authorities, I am excited to talk to you about them. Liz has had 2 regional trainings so far, Cedar County and Scenic Regional. The Scenic Regional especially was very well attended. We had some catalogers from the MLC, the Municipal Library Consortium in St. Louis County that joined, as many of you are aware, most of you probably. The MLC libraries, 9 of them are joining us in October. So that's exciting. So we had a full house as Scenic is close to the St. Louis County side of our state. So that was great. We have another one at Poplar Bluff this Friday. Liz and I will both be there. And then we have Livingston County May 10th, Trails Regional May 17th. So if you are not signed up yet and are interested in signing up for those, the registration links are in the agenda as well. These trainings, you know, we say it all the time, they're great. Lots of questions answered, lots of things reviewed. So they're well worth going if you could make the trip. Let's see, okay, she has the certifications separated out. So it looks like recert, we have 19 advanced recertifications and 6 basic recertifications. And then we've had new certifications, 7 basic and 7 advanced. So it looks like we have 7 new catalogers in our consortium. So that's exciting. Let me see. Any feedback about the recertification project or process? Anyone have any questions or anything like that? During the user conference, we heard good feedback about how much easier it is and everything. I will be quiet for a minute and see if anyone has any questions about certification or recertification. Just as a reminder, as people are kind of still coming in, if you haven't put your name and library in the chat, please do so. That helps us with taking attendance. Okay. Liz unveiled her 100+ page crib sheet document last month. It's really incredible, you guys. I mean, crib sheets, AKA cheat sheets, are something that they're just very helpful when cataloging, especially for things that you don't catalog often. She did just add a Tony box crib sheet. There's stuff for, you know, your library of things, your kits, anything and pretty much everything you could think of. On those crib sheets, there's a really good example of a MARC record and what all information should be in a general MARC record for those types of items, including the advanced view of the 008 field, of the fixed fields. So that's super helpful. We are moving right along here. If you come across something and you would like a crib sheet on it, just email Liz She's happy to add one. She says after 100 pages, what's a couple more pages? It doesn't really matter. Just keep adding them. So as those are really helpful, if you have anything you'd like to see that isn't there, just let us know. So we've talked about several times that we are coming out with monthly cataloging report instructions. This is a project that we had started, but then Liz decided that she kind of wanted to revamp everything and make everything a little more streamlined. And but they are nearing completion. There will be step-by-step written instructions for each of those reports that we get from Rogan every month. But also another reason why we delayed these as well is because as any of you know that have been here a while, some of those reports, we always know there's an option, there's the potential for false positives. That's going to happen no matter what. But we are working with Rogan to tighten up those a little bit. So we do have something that's a little more concise and that we don't have to work through getting, you know, all the information we need so hard. We are also trying to work on the parts report, which we all know it's a real beast and it's confusing and the information is there. It's just really hard to get to what you need to get to if you're not used to it. So we're hoping to work with him specifically about that one. And so she says she's working with Rogan about what the reports are actually giving us, what the information is that's in there, and we're trying to get that a little more concise. And she says it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back, which is, as we all know, it's kind of par for the course for a lot of things. Any questions about anything so far? We are moving right along. Okay. The International Evergreen Conference is next week. It's an online conference this year. It's every other year in person and online. This is separate from the Missouri Evergreen User Conference. I'm talking about the International Evergreen Conference. This is the larger Evergreen community across not only the United States, but across the world. And the conference schedule is linked and registration is still open as it is online this year. They will be, you know, taking registration all the way up to probably day of. So I really would encourage you to go look at the schedule and see if there's something you'd like to see. Those conferences, they're super. And the people that are presenting at those conferences really know what they're talking about. Something that I'm really excited about, we don't talk a lot about it in Missouri Evergreen. We don't train on it yet or anything, but Terry Reese, the creator of MarcEdit, is going to be there. And MarcEdit is a free third-party Marc editor that is super duper powerful if you know how to use it. So he's going to be there, and I might be alone here, but I'm like kind of fangirling because it's kind of a big deal. Terry Reese is kind of a big deal, so I'm excited to meet him. And there's probably, I should have counted before this meeting, but I know there's at least 3 to 5 cataloging programs specific to Evergreen cataloging that are going to be at that conference. So I encourage everybody to look at the schedule and see if it's something that they would like to attend. Again, it is online this year. We get really good attendance when it's online because, of course, more people can go when it's online. So more people attending means more ideas being shared and more networking happening and stuff like that. So I'm excited for it.
Kate?
Yeah.
I might have zoned out for a minute and not heard this. Is there a cost for the conference since it's virtual?
The conference, there is a fee for it. It's of course not nearly as much since it's online as it would be in person, but yes, there is a cost associated with the International Evergreen Conference.
Kate, I think it's $60, but I might be wrong. Or that may have been an early bird price or something like that, but I seem to remember that being the number.
Yeah, so Steve says 60, and also Heather in the chat says that she thinks it's 60 as well. So for a conference that is so directly applicable to what you do day to day, again, I would just encourage you to check it out and see if it's something you would be interested in. All right. We kind of we discussed it last month a little bit, but it has officially been resolved. The situation that St. Joseph Public discovered when they were doing some of their editing of their bibs and realizing that something happened with stuff that they had just edited. It was being overlaid with old records before their editing happened. It has officially been resolved, and we did get kind of an after action report from Equinox about what happened and what they did to remedy the situation. We have been keeping an eagle eye out since, you know, the March reports came out to make sure that everything seems to be going well, and it does seem to be going well. Things were not overlaid that shouldn't have been. And we're going to talk a little bit more about MarkIve in a minute to kind of give you an idea of what MarkIve does for us and kind of what happened when things went wrong. Any questions about that? I know that not everyone was really kind of knew what was going on, but it was happening for quite a few months, and thank goodness it is remedied now. All right, moving along, OCLC Classify, as we know, this was a tool that many catalogers used to help us determine Dewey numbers, most often, of course, for nonfiction Dewey numbers. It is no longer available for free for anyone. Well, it's not available any longer at all. So we have been trying to find something free for the catalogers that they could use while we get things sorted out with the state library about the potential for WebDewey. So what I know catalogers that I work with have used LibraryThing before, and so I just kind of wanted to illustrate to you how this works. I will be honest, the first several times I looked at this, it took me a hot minute to wrap my head around how this works. But now that I know how it works, it's really intuitive. So it is linked in the agenda here. And this is what LibraryThing looks like. This is the main page where you can get to any of the Dewey numbers. I will say that a little hack that one of my catalogers taught me was up here in your search or in the web address bar. If you do a / and then your main Dewey set that you potentially want to use, so I'm going to put 900, then it'll take you directly to that. But this is the main landing page in any of these. So this is the 100s, 200s, 300s, and so on and so forth. So the one that I kind of wanted to illustrate with you, we're going to go to the 900s. So this first line is still all of the numbers outlined, all of your 100s through 900s. I clicked on the 9 and another subset came underneath that with 90, 91. So that means this is a 991, a 994, a 998 call number. So you guys with me? So we're going to go to 995, and then you click on that, and another subset, even more detailed, comes under that. So this is a 995 point, well, let's see, 955. And then under that, you can see even more details. So a history book about which, Asia, 995, even more narrow, Iran, 955. So the call is 955.5. So that if you're looking for a tool that gets you 4 cutter numbers or more, there's not going to be anything free out there right now unless you're using your print copy of the DDC, So, but this will, this is a good tool and will definitely get you through. Something else that you can always email Liz for a more specific Dewey number if you want something that's got a higher cutter character length. And then something that all of us probably do as well. If you have a trusted library source, you can go and see what they have their Dewey as well. And then using all of these tools, you can probably cross-reference them and be pretty satisfied with what you settle on for a Dewey number. Any questions about library thing or OCLC Classify? Okay, so speaking, I mentioned that WebDewey was potentially something the state library was looking at for us. We've been reporting to you guys for a couple months now that the state library was in talks with OCLC to potentially get a full cataloging subscription for all Missouri Evergreen libraries. They are still in talks about doing that. I will say, unfortunately, though, that it's not looking good. But out of the ashes, potentially, it does look like maybe we're going to get some help using these call numbers. You know, I don't have specifics yet about how many sign-ons or anything we're going to get with WebDewey. Steve, do you want to talk about that at all, or are we still just being general? I don't know exactly the specifics.
No, I think you've done a good job of knowing what, as much as we can really say. I mean, Janet and the state library are still working on some things. A lot of it has to do with the bureaucracy associated with OCLC, less so than anything else. But you know, Janet is continuing to work on our behalf. But Kate, I just don't remember if you've actually shared with the committee, you know, the scope of costs that we're talking about in terms of some of this. So I mean, so one of the things I want to make sure that you understand is that, you know, it's not like a rounding error, or it's not like something we could just sort of tighten our belt a little bit and we could have gotten OCLC for everybody. The initial quote that came back, I think, was $250,000, if I'm not mistaken. And so, I mean, that's like twice the amount of support that the state library already gives to us. And so it was a huge, and that was after negotiation, and that was after us trying to get them into a box, and it was still $250,000 for full OCLC for everyone. So continuing to work, continuing to try to figure out some sort of an alternative or a plan B, or you know, something that's potentially workable, but certainly plan A didn't work, and we'll see what Janet's able to come up with as she continues to work with OCLC. And you know, as soon as she finds out, you know, little tiny bits of information, she always contacts me and says, okay, so you know, how is this? And usually I'm turning it back to her, and it's like, okay, but are you willing to fund a grant for that? I mean, right. but so far. So far, probably nothing substantial to report at this point.
All right, thank you, Steve. I will say that Steve and the state library, Janet and Robin, you know, they've put a lot of time and effort into trying to, you know, get some kind of contract going, and it just became clear that it was just, you know, most likely it's going to be out of the realm of possibility, because yeah, the quote was over $250,000. I think it was close to 260. And that's a heck of a lot of money, guys. It would have been really cool for us all to have. However, you can always, if you have tried to the ends of the earth to find a bib record for something and you feel like there's one out there, contact Liz. She might be able to bring something out. She might be able to bring something into the system for you. Sorry, I just saw a question from Marianne. And is that the amount every year? Yes, OCLC is a subscription, so it would be $250,000 every year that the state library was, you know, researching if they could provide to us. And to no one's surprise, after you get a quote that big, it's not something that they could do. All right, any questions about that? I'm not gonna lie, I'm super bummed about it, but, yeah, 250,000 every year, and of course, that will be raised every year, of course. OCLC is the only name in the game, unfortunately, one of the very few, and, they can charge a lot, and they do. Okay, I'm just gonna briefly touch on what we talked about at the user conference. Two main things that I wanted to talk about, because I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Liz's part of the presentation was great, where she teaches you how to almost read an authority record and what they do and everything. I want to talk to you more about the last two things that I talked about, which is Marchive, which is our third party authority vendor that Missouri Evergreen uses and has used since 2017. And then I want to talk about, let me see, Marchive and how Evergreen authorities does and doesn't work for us. So Marchive is our third-party authority vendor. And so what happens is every night, any brand new bib records that any cataloger in Missouri Evergreen has brought into the system, every night Marchive gets a file of those. Well, we compile a file of those, and then once a month they're run through, and this is the monthly report that we get from Rogan, where he says, we added this many authorities and we deleted this many authorities. So every single night, it looks to see what brand new bib records are in, and it does three main things. It adds the 3XX RDA fields. So it looks at, of course, the fixed fields, and it's seeing what those things are, and it's putting the corresponding RDA fields in there. It is adding 521 Lexile and advanced reader scores in there. So for all children's items, as we know, there are groups that come into the library and they want a specific reading level or something for the kids that they're helping. So those are keyword searchable in the catalog. And then, of course, the main thing it does is it runs through every single authority field that we have in a bib record. So a name authority, a subject authority, a geographic authority, even a series authority. And it makes sure that those are valid. It checks them against Library of Congress authorities. Of course, we only use Library of Congress subject headings. And it fixes it. If it was a see also reference or something like that, it renames it what it was supposed to be and that kind of thing. So every new bib that comes into a record, that comes into our catalog on any given day, is then processed through our third-party authority file people. Now, something else that happens on top of that is every quarter, Marchive uses the file that we have of all of our catalog, and then plus all of those brand new bibs that we have had over the last quarter. And it runs an even more exhaustive authority process on them. It actually, more than just authorities, it's a whole bibliographic process on it. Now, all of this has a caveat of you're always going to find bibs that it did not fix the way you thought it should have been fixed or could have been fixed, but the vast majority of them have the following things done to them. So of course, the things that I said before, the 300 fields, it's all RDA checked, and the 521s. And then of course it checks all of the authority files, but it also will take out an H field GMD, which is, us old school catalogers, we know that the 245, we used to put video recording or whatever right in that title field. It will take out those BISAC and all of the fast headings, all of those subject headings that we don't use. It checks for non-filing characters in the 245. It takes out junk tags. It does a whole list of things that Missouri Evergreen has asked it to do. And so it does this all on that bigger scale for our catalog once a quarter. So this is something that every one of your libraries pays for. This is, they pay separate for this from their membership fees to Missouri Evergreen. It's something that really helps us be able to, you know, serve our patrons better. Now, there are a couple fallbacks of the way authorities work in Missouri Evergreen, unfortunately. One of the main things that I wanted to show you, and I'm going to do a quick search here for okay, so actually I want to do an author search. Okay, so this author that I'm showing you, her authorized name is S.A. Chakraborty. But one of the more recent books that she published, her name is, she published it under Shannon Chakraborty. But of course, we all know, regardless of what is on the book, her authorized heading is what we need to use. So I'm going to click through here. Well, actually, I'm going to click this one. And one of the things I wanted to be sure everybody knew, we're in the Mark Edit tab here. And I know a lot of us, we catalog in flat text editor. I certainly do, but you should always be clicking over into the enhanced editor to look at your fixed fields here, because that is by far the easiest way to edit your fixed fields. But also there is a validate button here. So I'm going to hit this validate button and we'll see what it does here. So you can see this check mark by the author's name and by all of these subject headings. And then this one is red with a exclamation mark beside it saying, hey, I don't recognize this in our Missouri Evergreen authority file that we have. So that's how the, and then that would prompt you to go out and look up this subject heading and, you know, see if it's right or if it's wrong or what needs to be changed. So that's a good place to start as far as, but you can always look at this little widget here and you can bring up what the actual authority records are. And you can see here that on this right-hand side, you can actually go and view the authority record itself. And you can see that this is the 100 field. This is her authorized heading, but there's also a 400 field here, which is a see from or see also tracing that says Chakraborty, comma, Shannon A. And so that's what some of her published works have been published under as well. But her authority record for the initials still stands. That's always what's going to be in the 100 field. So regardless of the fact that the correct name is in the 100 and there's a C from tracing in the 400, if we go back to do a search, the way that most ILSs work is we could do an author search for Chakraborty Shannon, because like I said, you know, that's what's on the cover of this book. That's potentially what a patron would be looking up. And generally speaking, in most ILSs, if you look this up, because of that authority record, that 400 field also has this name in it, it should bring up those books by her, but it does not. That is one of the main problems that the Missouri Evergreen or the Evergreen Authorities module, that's one of its downfalls. Now, at our user conference this past week, Jennifer, who is the facilitator of the cataloging working group for the larger Evergreen community, those of us that are part of that community are very aware of this problem. But This is something that that group, that cataloging working group, is bringing forward to be like, hey, this really needs some attention from the powers that be that code our open access software. So we're hoping to really bring this to the forefront and get it changed. So our authority files work a little bit closer to how a cataloger would think they would work, and how our patrons search in the catalog as well. So that's kind of a bit what MarkGuide does for us every month, and a little bit about what you can do with authorities. That validate button is very valuable. I, highly suggest you all use it. And but there are also some downfalls of our authority file. Okay. Any questions about any of that stuff? For those of you that were in the conference, that was a big, just a review of what we went over on last week. So I have our next meeting as May 13th. And in between that day and now, I believe there are 2 different regional trainings that Liz will be doing. So if you're interested in any of those, please go ahead and sign up for those. Any last questions before we hit the road? All right, everybody. We will see you next month. Thank you.